Welcome once again to the annual Interdistrict Art Show. This is our 34th show. Our first show was in 1977, and we have been delivering a comprehensive, creative celebration of the arts for 34 shows. I'm going down to see some of the show's work and to compliment you on your interest in our program, for your support of our program, and for a community-wide interest in the visual arts. We couldn't do it without the support of students, parents, administrators, teachers, and support staff. That's what makes it work. We're beginning with the painting division, and this year there was an emphasis on Chinese art and East Asian studies, because our superintendent, Dr. Jack McCauley, went to China last summer and came back with an enormous collection of wonderful pictures. We seized the moment and decided to infuse his China trip, with the art curriculum. And in doing so, we achieved some really new and innovative projects for this year's classroom activities. What you're seeing here is painting. These are paintings that were done on silk. These were done in Miss Miscali's art classes. They represent the Asian themes, and they were inspired by the trip to China by our superintendent. We always try to find something new and unique to show every year that we've never shown before. And this year we took our cue from that trip to China and celebrated all of the cultural events that our superintendent shared with us. Here you can see not just the Asian-inspired pieces, but now the scenery that we always have every year. And every year, the amazing thing is, students interpret their environment differently. It is absolutely amazing, because the human mind knows no limits.
Here we are with our annual 2010 art show. And our teachers, Ms. Crossway, Mrs. Morgan, and Mrs. Miscali have done an outstanding job, as usual. I wanted to bring attention over here to some of the work that it means a little closer to me. I was able to go to China last June, and while I was in China, Mrs. Morgan said to me, "You need to bring back as many pictures and as much information you can on China, so that we can infuse this into our art class." And what they did, the theme, actually to present all the different areas of silk and water painting that are related to China in one point or another. And I see a lot of the paintings and a lot of the silk screening here are of pictures that I brought back. I brought back about 650 different pictures from China, and they were able to replicate this, even do a better job. This particular picture, again, is it shows in China, there's a theme that shows different meanings, different pictures. This actually theme deals with man and wife, happiness and longevity. So there's when someone in China sees this and sees this and it could be anywhere, a restaurant, could be in a classroom, a hotel, in an area where there is man life. The plants in the background representing happiness and longevity. The taller the plants are, the longer the lifespan. And it's earmarked. And as Ms. Miscali is telling me, here on this part, this is the logo of every particular artist or every person that's actually drawing or exhibiting their particular theme, have their own little logo, kind of like your signature, your initials, or whatever. So they've done a great and outstanding job here. Again, as usual, this year we have an east-west flair, makes it nice, and I'm just really proud of the art department and how great a job they do.
Throughout the day, classroom teachers send their students down to observe the show, to take in the work of their peers. This particular group that you're seeing they're doing a writing assignment that they have with their English teacher, where they have to find a piece of work that they are interested in and then write about the work in a descriptive paragraph or essay. Other students are here on scavenger hunts, looking for specific items in the art show, and they have to ask people if they've seen the picture of the tiger, or if they've seen the picture of cats and other items, the statue of Nefertiti. They all ask these questions, and it keeps them focused on the show. It also takes the classroom into the art show, and it becomes a broader learning environment. And this is all part of our professional learning community's activities. We try to get subjects to come together so the students can make connections between the art and the academics. Everything is connected. And this is an example. I can see that. It just amazes me every year at the energy and imagination that our students show. It's everything that is right about young people. This is one of the individual display panels, and it's done by student Franklin Overstreet, who is an absolutely fabulous designer in computer graphics. The first piece that you saw on his panel is a study of 3 dimensions on a 2-dimensional plane. And if you look at the picture, it almost looks like it's carved into the paper, but it isn't. It's a perfectly flat surface. Panel by Courtney Bradis, who specializes in her presentation, drawing, pencil drawing. You can see the drawings are very strong and they are very expressive, but the best part, I think, is her technique. She really uses the pencil well and to its fullest potential. People are very difficult to do, but she was able to do the expressions, and the subjects of her painting, of her drawing, I should say, won first place in drawing and second best in show. This is a very interesting panel by Kelsey Costigan. Her panel includes not only the traditional media of 2 dimensions, charcoal, pastel, etc., but it also shows a tremendous imagination in her ability to create jewelry out of everyday objects, like buttons and pieces of broken mirror. Creativity is endless and infinite, and you can see the students are enjoying, as girls do, the discussion of jewelry and other beautiful artifacts. This is Megan Baisey's panel. Megan is going to be attending the prestigious Tyler School of Art next year at Temple University. Tyler is one of the nation's top 5 art schools, and we're very proud of her. But this picture that you saw that we're showing you of Megan, she really nailed her personality and her expression. It's full of life, and it's definitely Megan. Andrew Milby's computer graphics are very, very interesting. He's a natural. The one you're looking at now really hurts your eyes. The assignment was to do optical illusions in black and white. And he came up with this one that I keep staring at, and every time I stare at it, it just absolutely mesmerizes you, and it plays tricks on your eyes. You see his other pieces are terrific. One is called Scream. He's got a beautiful, at the bottom of the panel, a beautiful rendering of glass bottles with light upon them. And his visual analogy is going nuts, which shows an explosion of walnut shells like they're in space. Now we're going to change gears a little bit. We went from the very advanced one-person shows to the Foundations program of Art One. This is where it all begins, with our very gifted teacher, Miss Sharon Crossway, who has all the patience in the world and absolutely nurtures these kids and gets them on the path to the higher levels of the visual arts here at Sterling. You can see very basic things here. You can see drawing, you can see basic design and color theory. You see it all, and this is how it begins. They really do learn the foundations and fundamentals of all things common to all arts at every level and in every media. We're going to leave this section of the program with the first place winner in Art 1, which is a beautiful, beautiful view of a Ferris wheel that has been stylized and painted in the colors that are appropriate to this color exercise, this design problem, and this different way of looking at a common object. It is a beautiful piece, and I agree with the judge's decision on this one completely. Right now you're looking at the 2010 Board of Education Art Commission by Dan Jarzynski. Again, this subject was inspired by Dr. McCulley's trip to China. It's entitled Worlds Together, Worlds Apart, and it's done in computer graphics on what appears to be a fabric. What you see in the picture is a Western and an Eastern style of tents and people from the Far East cultures. What this is about is this. The subject of this work was inspired by the China trip of Dr. McCulley. The composition shows stylized representations of both Eastern and Western cultures facing away from each other, but at the same time in close proximity to each other. The result is a powerful and clear statement that illustrates while the Earth is shrinking in its global connections, worlds together, the cultures of East and West still remain worlds apart. Here we are in the advanced level classes now. These are the classes of Ms. Irene Muscali, who handles what we call the upper level and art students. You're going to see as we walk along how the foundation level builds the skills, and how Ms. Muscali's students continue to build upon those foundations levels. We have fabulously strong drawings in Conte crayon and charcoal that were done from life objects, simple paper cups, simple pieces of paper, and they had to compose and show the strength of the darks and the lights. These are really powerful drawings that are well observed and are difficult to do. On the bottom you'll see figure work, and you'll see work in color, again from life, always from life. One of the things about the visual arts and its goal, independent of whether the student wants to become a professional artist or not, teach every student how to observe their visual environment more keenly, and that in turn adds to the quality of their life, which is the goal of every teacher in every subject in education. These are super portraits of the students here at Sterling. They are so wonderful, I hate to let them go. The first one that you see is a girl staring at the girl next to her, or looking at the girl next to her. And if you look at that face, I think you might remember it from the panel. That is Megan Basin with that smile of hers. So we're going to walk along here, and these kids really nailed their likenesses. People are mesmerized by pictures of other people. You can really see the quality of the work and the personalities of the people that are here. You can really see the work. For example, with fashion design, we've got guys that like to do skateboarding, we've got fashion plates, we've got people with a sense of humor with little characters there. We have a student that likes the anime figures. They all talked about their personalities, not in words, but in their own visual image. This panel received first place as Best Individual Exhibitor. It's by Julia Garcia, a junior. Her work is exceptional. It's all original, it's imaginative. She shows competency in a variety of media. It's been getting rave reviews, and the students absolutely love this one. The collage at the top that says party, and coping, and all the other things, I mean, I could just look at that myself for many minutes. I would say possibly hours. Beautiful. Part of the show is always fun because it's three-dimensional art, and the students use clay and found objects and string and glue guns and just about anything that they can find that they can put together imaginatively to create the most incredibly interesting pieces of artwork. I have no idea what some of this stuff is supposed to represent. They do. They can tell you stories about it, but it's just a lot of fun. And when we have the little preschoolers come in here, kids from the elementary schools, they just go right to this stuff. They absolutely love it. I'll let you look at a few of the tables and we'll just walk around the table so you can view some of the interesting creations. Shows me that they have a real concept of texture and form, and you can only do that because you're sculpting the form in the round. It's not just rendered and suggested, it's the actual form, and the kids love getting their hands in the clay and manipulating the medium. It's a lot of fun. In fact, sometimes it's actually therapeutic. This is the computer graphics section of the art show. And I have to tell you, there are almost 1,000 pieces on display throughout the entire building. There are no computer graphics on display as such in the general art show, but in the hallways throughout all of the school are just countless beautiful pieces of computer graphics from all levels. It just boggles my mind that every year it gets better and better, and the students become, I think, even more creative than ever. I think maybe it's because we're all getting with technology at every level. Although I must say the students are much more comfortable with technology than I am. However, I'm more comfortable with the art than they are. So it works. It's a nice combination. The work is just mind-boggling. We can't possibly show you all of it. We can only show you some of it. And we'll just highlight a few things. These are studies of landscapes and feelings of light. You can see the light study in some of the landscapes. You can see weather in other landscape pictures. This picture of the landscape has a beautiful feeling of atmosphere and sky. This is a landscape showing rain, and storms and flowers. This part of the show is about rendering visual texture. What makes something look like metal or wood or a diamond? What is it that makes something look like what it is? If you break it down to its basic shapes and colors, which is what they're taught when they study abstraction, the mystery is solved. All you do is draw the shapes and colors, and if you put the right shapes and the right colors together in the right place, it's going to look like whatever you want it to be, whether it's water or glass or pearls or metal. It's all shapes and colors. It's an illusion. And speaking of illusions, this assignment is for the students using black and white only to get a feeling of three-dimensional space on a two-dimensional plane. This work by Dustin Wilbarn won third place for his beautiful rendition of space on a flat plane. Very, very tricky to be done. The one at the top is a color assignment where students have to get colors that will move and vibrate as you look at them. You stare at this long enough and move your eyes around it, all of the circles in time will also begin to move on you. It's It's a very daunting task to work on these every single day for long periods of time until you hit the jackpot, but these students have. This particular work right here, even though that paper is perfectly flat, if you stare at it long enough, it starts to look like it's wrinkling. It starts to look like it's bulging and bubbling and moving, but it's not. It's the way the student put the squares together. This is a lettering assignment, and the word is pile, and the student had to convey the meaning of the word in the composition. So this student took the word pile and piled it on top of itself. Very clever. Other students have to use their own names or initials to create a logo graphic that conveys their name without spelling it across the page like a sign. This is a real right brain exercise and is great for students who are really gifted as designers as opposed to other students who are gifted more as illustrators. There's really something for everyone in the course. And I know that the illustrators struggle through the rendering assignment and the landscapes and the animal studies and so on, but when they get to these design projects, they get a chance to really show off, and they do. These are Computer Graphics 3 students, and this is a color theory exercise where the students have to take an object, and with each section they have to enlarge the object and do a color theory relation from a value study to color opposites to analogous colors to monochromatic colors. This is another exercise where students learn to think outside the box, and they learn to work with analogous objects. These are objects that they are very different, but they share common properties, like the penknife and the crab. You can see the analogous properties here of the Taj Mahal and the chess players. This is an opportunity for the students to show the viewer that while some things may be different, they share common properties. We're in the Media Center now, where the special exhibits take place, and what you're seeing now is an alumni exhibit of works that were created late last year and early this year on the Holocaust. The work is incredibly compelling, and it is amazing how the students were able to grasp the hideousness of such an awful time in human history. This obscene treatment of other human beings and the valuing of life. They were able to capture this, and a picture's worth 1,000 words. I understand that this exhibit will be touring nationally shortly, because the people who were here that were speaking to our students about the Holocaust were very impressed and very moved by the work that our students did. This is another alumni exhibit. This is by our graduate of 2008, Kristen Rigaud, and she has done a beautiful selection of photographs. The first one that you saw of the daffodil is interesting because she said that she on the ground and looked up at the sky, so that the sky becomes the background for the picture. The study of the flames, the fire, the color opposites of orange and blue. It's magnificent. That's color theory coming into play and what she learned about it. The skyline of New York. These are all wonderful. I happen to love the little, I think it's a little owl in the knot of the tree, just hiding there waiting to be discovered. I think it's adorable. It's a beautiful play on textures with a little surprise. The placement of the hot air balloon is again another example of creative composition, where the subject is not right in the middle, but it's off to the side, moving into the empty space as you go across the picture plane. Kristen has had some wonderful opportunities to travel, and she has been traveling across and abroad. She did some beautiful work from her family over in Ireland, but basically her work is introspective and positive and expresses optimistic themes like the light at the end of the tunnel, the rainbow in every storm, and above all, the idea of hope. Once again, Dr. McCulley influences the art department, and I had the privilege of being accepted into a program at Princeton this year in the study of the East Asian cultures. As a result of that, I was able to get my students to do some themes about the things that we studied at the Princeton course. Now, I have to tell you, as a Western European, I am totally unaware of the other half of this globe. When I studied at Princeton, I began to realize how the only word is ignorant I was to the fact that there's a whole other half of this planet sees this world in a whole different way, and yet there are so many similarities. One of the things that our students did was they tried to visualize the sayings of Confucius. I think this one is absolutely terrific. A clever person turns great troubles into little ones, and little ones into none at all. And the word troubles just gets smaller and lighter and smaller and lighter until it's none at all. Beautifully done. The other one that we did was a theme called Lost Names. I knew nothing about this, but when Japan occupied Korea during the Second World War, the Japanese forced the Koreans to take on Japanese names, and a whole generation of Koreans lost their names. Their birth certificates were destroyed, and they were renamed Japanese. And this is an example of the lost names, visualized by our students. It's superb. I love this one particularly, of the shore, the water washing up on the sand, washing away the identity of the people. What I'm going to show you now is an experiment with the wingdings and webdings portion of the keyboard. This is predicated on the notion that as we become more connected through technology, and as the information overload makes it impossible for us to read every word, we're going to have to communicate across the globe, internationally, in a language that is universal to all cultures, independent of the spoken language, independent of their written language. I really believe that the notion of East Asian logographics, where a whole story can be told in a single icon, may become, long after I'm gone, maybe not, I don't know, the universal language of computer communicating. For example, if you go to any country in the world and you don't even speak the language and you see the Golden Arches, you don't need to know the language to know what that brand represents. It speaks entire entities of information. Likewise, the Nike swoosh on hats, on shirts, on sneakers, on sports equipment, in every culture. That swoosh speaks volumes as a single icon. So likewise, I think we may be going back to that concept to communicate globally in the age of technology across the language barriers. Here's an example. This student in Icons made a statement about the housing crisis. All this money, and you start to lose it because you can't keep up with those mortgage payments, and before long you've lost your house. This one speaks to the poisonous web of capitalism and how it just reaches out and snags business, industry, government, and everybody, from the cities to the suburbs. Doesn't get any simpler than this. Think outside the box. Hello? This is what it feels like to be different. You don't want to stand out, you want to fit in. These kids say so much, and it doesn't take much. This is the beginning. This is what the whole notion of logographics is all about. And next year we're going to be starting a computer graphics course that uses this concept, and it's going to be a computer graphics course based on East Asia, the logographics of East Asia as they apply to and relate to language across the continents by way of computer graphics. The work that you're looking at now is by our professional artists that we invite to display at the art show. it's really wonderful for the students to see a real pro and where their talents will one day take them. The work you see here is by Ricardo Vejian, who is a resident of one of our community sending districts, Laurel Springs. This is a scene taken from life of Dobbs Farm on Warwick Road. A parcel of Dobbs Farm land was purchased by the town fathers, and Sterling High School now sits on land that was once owned by Mort Dobbs' family. Mr. Dobbs, I believe, is mayor of Hynella, lives at the farm, and Ricardo is there frequently visiting to do scenes from life of the farm. Ricardo works with pen and ink, and I'm going to tell you about the pen and ink that he uses. He makes his own ink from black walnuts. The pens that he works with are quill pens from feathers that he makes himself. The paper is from old books, and he lets the imperfections of the old paper dictate to him how the work will emerge from the surface. You get a really rich, almost organic quality of life coming from the surface of the picture. This is another one done in the winter. You can see where Ricardo has added just a little touch of white to it to give the effect of the cold, snowy weather. These are magnificent, and I believe the school, I had spoken to Dr. McCulley this morning, he's very interested in purchasing one of Ricardo Vejian's works at school. This is a picture of an old bull that still lives on the Dobbs farm. He's old, he's fat, he's decrepit, and he's as tame as they get. And he's gotten to know the artist well enough that he now comes over and sits next to him while he draws his work. And one time, the bull came right up to him and put his face on Ricardo's lap. Personally, I don't care how old the bull is. If that thing came near me, I would be out of there. No way. So there it is, folks. Third show. The biggest and best. Doesn't get any better than this. This is the longest running, most comprehensive art show in the United States, according to National School Boards magazine, which we were written up in several years ago. Nobody does it better. And we have the students, the staff, the community, everybody to thank for this beautiful collection of creative energy. This is everything that's right about learning and teaching and kids.